Hello, this is WJAG News. I'm Major Hines.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Wood, and we're from
the Legal Office!
We're here today because Article 137 of the UCMJ says we have to be. Article 137 requires that we carefully explain certain articles of the UCMJ to both enlisted members and commissioned officers at certain points in their careers.
This briefing will cover many articles of the UCMJ. We'll also talk about punitive and administrative discharges, service characterization, and the benefits and disadvantages of discharges with those service characterizations. We'll close today's briefing with a detailed review of sexual misconduct. At the end of the briefing, an attorney or a paralegal from
the Legal Office
will be here to answer any questions that you may have.
As you know, or reasonably should know, the military has a unique set of rules that only apply to those who serve. As members of the armed forces, you're not only expected to obey civilian laws, but also military-specific laws. The uniform we wear and the oaths we take demand that we are held to a higher standard. With that in mind, Congress and the President have established military law through the UCMJ.
There are certain crimes that are unique to the military. For example, showing up late to work if you're a civilian may not be a crime. However, if you show up late in the military, that is called failure to go, which is against Article 86 of the UCMJ. Another example would be drunk at work. It might not get you arrested or land you any jail time if you're a civilian. However, in the military, being drunk on duty is a violation of Article 112 and could land you up to 9 months of jail time and a bad conduct discharge.
The purpose of military law is to establish justice and maintain good order and discipline within the armed forces. Good order and discipline promotes efficiency and effectiveness within the military, which leads to stronger national security.
Put bluntly, military justice equals national security.
The Constitution and U.S. criminal law do not normally apply beyond our nation's border. But we have to be ready to serve anytime, anywhere, and we can't leave military justice behind. So, the military requires a source of jurisdiction that's not based on territory, but rather based on the military's authority over military personnel. That's why Article 2 of the UCMJ identifies who is subject to the UCMJ. All active duty members, retirees entitled to retirement pay, reservists on active duty or inactive duty training, members of the National Guard on Title 10 orders, and someone serving a sentence imposed by a court-martial are all subject to the UCMJ, regardless of where they may be.
That means that even after retirement or discharge, the UCMJ can still apply. Article 3 says that if a person commits a crime while subject to the UCMJ and is later discharged or otherwise removed from orders, they can be recalled to duty to be prosecuted for the offense committed while on duty under certain circumstances. For example, if a reserve component member violates the UCMJ while on active duty, they can be ordered to active duty and face judicial proceedings. Or if a retiree committed TMO fraud while out processing, they can be recalled to active duty for a court-martial.
Articles 7 through 14 discuss apprehension and restraint in the military justice system. Article 7 defines apprehension as taking a person into custody and requires that there be a reasonable belief that an offense has been committed and that the person apprehended committed said offense. Article 8 permits civilian law enforcement officers to apprehend a deserter and deliver that service member into the custody of the armed forces.
Article 9 highlights the difference between arrest and confinement. Arrest is the restraint of a person by an order. It is not imposed as a punishment for the offense. Confinement is a physical restraint of a person. Any order for arrest or confinement must be based on probable cause. Any commissioned officer may order an enlisted member into arrest or confinement by oral or written order. A commander may delegate this authority to an NCO. In regard to commissioned officers, warrant officers, or civilians subject to this chapter, only a commander may order a commissioned officer into arrest or confinement. This authority is not delegable. However, security forces personnel may hold an offender until the proper authority is notified. Article 10 addresses another variety of restraint, that of members charged with an offense under the UCMJ. A commander may order a service member charged with an offense into arrest or confinement if the circumstances require.
Typically, this pretrial confinement is only appropriate when the member is considered likely to commit further serious misconduct or is unlikely to attend trial. When a person is placed in arrest or confined prior to trial, they must be informed of the specific wrong of which they are accused. Importantly, pretrial confinement or restraint begins a 120-day speedy trial clock. In other words, beginning the day that they are placed in confinement, the government must begin court-martial proceedings within 120 days, or all charges must be dismissed.
Article 11 creates reporting requirements for prisoners. Within 24 hours of receiving a prisoner, a confinement facility commander must report the prisoner's name, alleged offenses, and the name of the person who authorized the imprisonment. Article 12 says that no member of the armed forces may be confined with enemy prisoners or other foreign nationals who have been detained under the law of war and are not a member of the armed forces.
Article 13 prohibits punishment before trial. Arrest and confinement are specifically excluded and are not considered punishment, so long as they are no more restrictive than needed to ensure the member appears at court-martial. Article 14 allows military authorities to deliver military personnel to civilian authorities if they have committed a civilian crime.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite, Article 15. Article 15 gives commanders the authority to impose non-judicial punishment, or NJP, on members under their command. This allows commanders to handle certain offenses without a trial by courts-martial. However, the member is able to turn down NJP and demand trial by court-martial. Accepting NJP is not an admission of guilt. It is strictly a forum choice.
That's right. Plus, NJP proceedings are not criminal convictions. Further, the amount and type of punishment available at NJP is limited, and that is determined based upon the grade of the offender at the time punishment is imposed and the grade of the commander imposing punishment.
I am Staff Sergeant Joyce Bray, and today I'll be talking to you about the punishments through Article 15. The punishments through Article 15 is based on two factors, the commander's grade and the offender's grade. If the commander is a lieutenant or captain, the maximum punishment they may impose is 7 days forfeiture of base pay, 14 days of extra duty, 14 days of restriction, and a reprimand. They may reduce members in the ranks of E2 through E4 down to an airman basic and may reduce a staff sergeants by 1 grade. Lieutenants and captains cannot reduce an E6 or above in grade, nor may they impose NJP for senior or chief master sergeants. A major may impose a maximum punishment of forfeiture of 1/2 month's pay per month for 2 months, 45 days extra duty, 60 days of restriction, and a reprimand. Majors may reduce an E2 through an E4 to the grade of E1, and they may reduce E5s and E6s to the next inferior grade. Majors cannot reduce a master sergeant in grade, and they cannot impose NJP on senior or chief master sergeants. Lieutenant colonels and colonels have similar punishment restrictions to majors, except for they may also reduce the master sergeants by 1 grade. Only the MAJCOM commander or promotion authority delegee may reduce a senior or chief master sergeant by 1 grade. If the member is receiving non-judicial punishment as an officer, the commander must hold the rank of colonel or above. Colonels may impose 30 days of restriction and may issue a reprimand, while general officers may impose forfeiture of 1/2 month's pay for 2 months, 30 days of arrest and quarters, 60 days of restriction, and a reprimand.
The next major portion of the UCMJ addresses the composition of courts. Did you know that the plural form of court-martial is not court-martials, but courts-martial?
The more you know, right?
And now, with that out of the way, we'll begin Article 25. Article 25 lays out who may serve on a court-martial. Those individuals include any commissioned officer on active duty and any enlisted member on active duty who is not junior in rank or grade to the accused. The convening authority will detail individuals best qualified for the role, taking into consideration factors such as the member's age, education, experience, and length of service.
Article 27 provides that government, trial counsel, and defense counsel will be detailed to each general and special court-martial. It also establishes certain conditions that can disqualify a JAG as trial or defense counsel in a particular case, such as serving as preliminary hearing officer, judge, or court member in the same case.
Article 31 is an extremely important article of the UCMJ. It provides certain rights to service members that do not exist in civilian criminal procedure. Most importantly, compulsory self-incrimination is prohibited. That means that you cannot be forced to provide testimony against yourself. If you are subjected to a crime, you cannot be questioned unless you are given these advisements and warnings. First, you must be informed of the nature of the alleged offense. Next, you are not required to make a statement about the offense, but if you do make a statement after a rights advisement, it may be used as evidence against you. You have the right to an attorney. An ADC can be appointed to you free of charge, or you may choose to have a civilian attorney act on your behalf. However, this option comes at your own expense. Finally, you have the right to stop the questioning at any time.
The next section of the UCMJ provides rules for trial procedures. Article 37 forbids commanders and court-martial convening authorities from taking actions that might coerce or influence the action of a court-martial. And Article 38 defines the duties of trial counsel and defense counsel. In short, trial counsel act as prosecutors for the government, while the defense counsel represent the accused.
The next section discusses the sentence a court-martial may give. Article 55 prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Specifically, a court-martial may not sentence a member to flogging, branding, marking, or tattooing on the body. Articles 77 through 134 are the punitive articles. This collection of laws specifies crimes within the military justice system, along with their elements and the punishments that may be adjudged. In fact, when you think of the articles within the UCMJ, you are probably thinking of the punitive articles.
The first few punitive articles identify theories of criminality. Article 77 says that anyone involved in committing a crime, whether it's the person who actually committed the criminal act, or someone who aids, abets, counsels, commands, or otherwise causes the criminal act to occur, may be punished for violating the law. Similarly, Article 78 says that someone who hides that a crime has been committed, or helps a criminal evade apprehension, trial, or punishment, may be punished as an accessory after the fact. Article 79 says that if an accused is found not guilty of a charged offense, they may still be found guilty of a lesser included offense if all of the elements of that crime are met. For example, a lesser included offense of robbery is larceny. The elements of larceny include taking someone else's property without permission, while the elements of robbery include taking someone else's without permission by force or the threat of force. If we were to charge a member with robbery, the court-martial may find that they took the other person's property without permission, but did not find the element that they took it by force or the threat of force. In this case, the court-martial must find the defendant not guilty of robbery. However, they may find them guilty of the lesser included offense of larceny, since the elements of that crime are met.
Articles 80, 81, and 82 address attempt, conspiracy, and solicitations. Simply put, they say that trying to commit a crime, planning with others to commit a crime, and asking someone else to commit a crime for you are all treated the same, as if you had in fact committed that crime.
The remainder of the punitive articles detail specific criminal acts. There are over 80 punitive articles detailing more than 100 crimes. But how well do airmen know the UCMJ? We asked around, and here's what we learned. Thanks, Major Hines. I'm Major Hines, and I'm here from
The Legal Office.
We're here today to talk to people about the UCMJ and see what they know. Let's go. What do you know about malingering?
Nothing. Never heard of it.
Breach of medical quarantine?
So you're sick and they got you quarantined off, just leaving?
Yeah. Yeah. What's missing movement?
It's when you're deployed or something and you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time and you don't meet that time, they leave without you.
What about escaping correctional custody?
So you're a fugitive?
What is disrespecting the superior commissioned officer? Article 90 is willfully disobeying a superior commissioned officer. Don't do that. What can you tell me about insubordinate conduct towards an NCO?
That is disobeying orders.
Failure to obey an order or regulation or dereliction of duty. That's actually, this one covers a lot of things. But basically, if someone gives you an order, you have to follow it. That also means that if there's a regulation that's been published or if there's a general order that, whether you know about it or not, you still have to follow all of the requirements that are in that. What is cruelty or maltreatment?
Basically treating someone lower than what you would treat yourself.
I like that answer, actually. That's pretty good. What about prohibited activities with military recruits or military trainees?
Oh, that's when you're not supposed to have like an unauthorized relationship.
What is mutiny?
Basically, for overthrowing your supervisors and trying to overpower them.
That's pretty close. It hits a lot of the right notes. What is disrespect towards a sentinel?
Disrespect towards a sentinel is anything that puts disrespect on the uniform, basically. So if you're coming up just being plain rude or making offensive gestures or remarks towards a security forces member or an augmentee sending out here, they could also wind you up in a lot of trouble.
So, what is release of a prisoner without authority?
Basically, just giving them a get out of jail free card.
Yeah. What about misconduct as a prisoner of war?
Okay, doing something as a prisoner of war in order to receive better treatment.
Yeah. It's an improper use of a countersign.
So basically, if we have a designated sign and countersign, and you use it wrong, in the wrong manner, then you could basically give away your sign and countersign, right? Because that's confidential. Nobody except the people that need to know are supposed to know that.
Spying.
Spying. Obtaining information that you're not supposed to know about.
Article 103A, espionage. Any person who with intent or reason to believe that it is to be used to the injury of the U.S. or to the advantage of a foreign nation who does or attempts to communicate, deliver, or transmit to an entity. Article 103B, aiding the enemy. Any person who aids or attempts to aid the enemy with arms, ammunition, supplies, money, or other things, or without proper authority, knowingly harbors or protects, or give intelligence to, or communicates, or corresponds with, or holds any intercourse with the enemy, either directly or indirectly.
Can you give me examples of some public records offenses?
Altering, concealing, or removing different records or public records.
Right. It's a false or unauthorized pass.
Obviously, don't fake passes.
Yeah.
But it's also a threat because we don't know who that person is, what they've done in the past, and what their intentions are for the base. Okay. If they're trying to hurt personnel or if they're trying to hurt resources.
Got it. What is impersonating a commissioned officer?
Sir, what is impersonating an officer?
No, I'm asking you, what is that?
Well, what is it? I could ask you the same question, sir.
Hang on. About wearing unauthorized insignia or decals.
Stolen valor.
There you go.
So that's like if you see somebody that's not in the military or is prior military, any reason that they're wearing rank or uniform items or anything like that, that they're actually not authorized to wear.
What is a parole violation?
Ooh, that is when, so you have like your list of things you can and cannot do on parole. You break them, that is a violation of your parole.
Okay. Loss, damage, destruction, or wrongful disposition of military property.
So for that, I would think of if I have an iPad or something that I want to get rid of and it's counted equipment, I'm going to destroy it when I'm not supposed to. Get rid of evidence, basically, any kind of comms or anything like that you're not supposed to have authority to destroy, and you do it anyway.
Sure. Responsibilities in regards to captured or abandoned enemy property.
So there's an accountability process for any kind of items like that. So if I'm out in the field and I take on me somebody, the prisoner's property, anything like that, that could be evidence in a case, and I just leave it without having the proper chain of command, have it, or in possession of who it's supposed to go to, the security forces, OSI, or anything like that, and I just abandon it and don't have someone of authority watching over it and staying with it and maintaining it.
Excellent. What about destruction of property other than government property?
I guess that would be, I don't know, vandalizing anything that is not government property.
Article 109A deals with mail matter, wrongful taking, opening, etc. Any person who wrongfully takes, opens, secretes, destroys, or steals mail before the mail is delivered to or received by the addressee.
What about leaving the scene of an accident?
So my first thought for that would be if I'm in a motor vehicle accident and it's like a hit and run and I leave. Or if the other person's a military member and they leave. So you're not there to make the police report, to make sure there's any information on insurance exchanges, things like that.
What is drunkenness on duty?
When you drink before duty, you have your 8 hours of duty, and whenever you drink some alcohol before you get to work.
Okay. Wrongful use, possession, distribution, etc. of controlled substances.
Obviously, you don't want people doing drugs, obviously, because one, it hurts mission.
Sure. What is the drunk or reckless operation of a vehicle, aircraft, or vessel?
Just operating any of them while intoxicated by anything.
Yeah, that's it. Communicating a threat.
Telling somebody that you're going to harm them in some way, what shape or form.
Okay. Riots and breach of peace.
So I guess an example of that would be like there's an opportunity for you to cause a ruckus.
What is provoking speech or gestures?
Anything to instigate something that's like bad.
Wrongful broadcast or distribution of intimate visual images is basically revenge porn. It's taking intimate images of another person and either publishing them on the internet or sharing them with people without the other person's permission. Death or injury of an unborn child?
That's a rough one.
Yeah.
So first thing that comes to my mind, if a woman's pregnant and she's physically assaulted and you're the one that did the assault and it results in a miscarriage or some kind of loss of life in the child, that's what I would think of.
And then what is child endangerment? We already talked a little bit about endangerment, but there's a specific one for child endangerment.
Yeah, child endangerment, once again, if you're the caretaker or primary caregiver and you put that child in danger. It doesn't have to be the parent, it could be any kind of caregiver, just putting a child in harm's way.
Okay. Can you give me a definition of rape?
Yes, so rape is sex without consent.
Okay. What about depositing obscene materials in the mail?
Putting bad things in someone's mailbox.
Okay. What about rape or sexual assault of a child?
So that is sex with somebody that is under the age of 16 because they cannot consent.
What about indecent recording or indecent broadcasting?
Photographing someone naked or having sex without their permission.
What about forcible pandering?
That is forcing someone to be a prostitute.
Okay. And then what is indecent exposure?
Flashing someone.
Okay. Thank you.
What is robbery?
Stealing things that aren't yours.
Okay.
Article 122A is receiving stolen property, any person who wrongfully receives, thieves, or conceals stolen property.
Misuse of a government computer is when you use a government computer to access classified information or information that you don't have permission to access, or when you use a computer in order to share information that you do have access but don't have permission to share.
Article 123A, making, drawing, or uttering a check, draft, or order without sufficient funds, any person who, for the procurement of any article or thing of value with intent to defraud, or for the payment of any past due obligation, or for any other purpose with intent to deceive.
124 is about frauds against the United States. Don't knowingly make false or fraudulent claims against the United States.
What is kidnapping?
Stealing somebody.
Okay. What is extortion?
I think it's like blackmail.
It's a lot like blackmail.
All right, there we go.
What is burglary?
Stealing things.
What is retaliation?
So that's like if you were to report somebody for something and they were like a supervisor, they retaliate against you for doing that.
Okay. What do you know about conduct unbecoming an officer?
Conduct on becoming an officer, so basically any conduct that I would do that would be considered either not of an officer's conduct or not gentlemanlike is basically if you're insubordinate or you're lying, cheating, stealing, that's basically a charge that you would get for not being what an ideal officer's performance should be.
The last of the punitive articles is Article 134. It is a general article that prohibits any behavior that is to the prejudice of good order and discipline or is likely to bring discredit upon the armed forces. The Manual for Courts-Martial provides several examples for violations, including child pornography, fraternization, animal abuse, extramarital sexual conduct, or drunken and disorderly conduct. However, any civilian crime can be treated as a military crime, so long as it meets this additional element, that it is likely to bring discredit upon the United States Armed Forces, or that it is to the prejudice of good order and discipline.
Article 138 provides a way for members to submit formal complaints. Any member who submits a complaint to their commander may file a complaint under Article 138 if their commander fails to resolve the complaint. The member may complain to any superior commissioned officer, and the complaint will be forwarded to the General Court-Martial Convening Authority, typically at least a 2-starred commander. The convening authority must then examine and take proper measures to address the member's complaint. The convening authority must then forward a copy of the complaint to the Secretary of the Air Force. Article 139 allows any person, military or otherwise, to make a complaint to a commander, alleging that a military member damaged or stole their property. The commander may convene a board to investigate the complaint. This board is authorized to assess damages if applicable. Any damages approved by the commander are charged to the offending military member.
If you're here today, it's because you're either new to the Air Force or you're recommitting yourself to serve another enlistment. While today marks a new beginning in your time in the military, it's important to understand that whether through discharge, dismissal, or retirement, your time in the uniform will eventually come to an end. For more on discharges and service characterizations, let's go to Captain Morin.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Thank you, Sergeant Wood, for your lovely introduction. So discharges come in one of two major varieties, depending on how the decision for discharge was reached. The first of which is court-martials. So discharges awarded as a part of a sentence of court-martial are called punitive discharges. A bad conduct discharge may be sentenced by a general court-martial or by a special court-martial, while a dishonorable discharge may only be a part of a sentence at a general court-martial. Bad conduct discharges are considered less severe than dishonorable discharges. Apart from the death sentence, a dishonorable discharge is considered the most severe punishment available at a court-martial. While officers cannot be discharged, they can be dismissed. A dismissal is equivalent to a dishonorable discharge and applies only to commissioned officers, commissioned warrant officers, cadets, and midshipmen, and may be adjudged only by a general court-martial. So not all discharges come as a part of a court-martial sentence. There are other types of administrative separations, which are the type of separation you and I would most likely receive. And for example, when you reach the end of your enlistment or the end of your commission commitment, you would likely receive an honorable service characterization. But there are other types of involuntary administrative separations, such as minor disciplinary infractions, those that have a medical basis for some type of personality disorder or mental health disorder, and failure to advance in training and fraudulent enlistments. So as with punitive discharges, administrative discharges are divided into several categories based upon the characterization of the member's service. An honorable service characterization is the most common. An honorable characterization is available when the quality of the airman's service generally has met Air Force standards of acceptable conduct and performance of duty. A general or under other than honorable service characterization is warranted when an airman's service has been honest and faithful, but significant negative aspects of the airman's conduct or performance of duty outweigh positive aspects of the airman's military record. An under other than honorable conditions discharge is given when the reason for separation is based on a pattern of behavior or one or more acts or omissions that constitute a significant departure from the conduct expected of airmen. An entry-level separation is given to airmen who have served less than 180 days of continuous active military service. If someone is discharged during this period, there is no characterization of service. Service characterizations are important because they determine benefits eligibility at the end of your service. While separating with an honorable service characterization entitles service members to all benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs, many benefits, including the post-9/11 GI Bill education benefits, become unavailable with lesser service characterizations. Federal law requires that certain benefits will be denied in the event you fail to complete 2 years of service. There are exceptions for those who separate with hardship discharges or disability discharges, and this does not apply to insurance, education, or employment benefits.
All right, we have the paralegals here who are going to discuss the remaining articles, and Major Hines is going to wrap it up with a discussion of Article 120. If you want to hang around, we put some bloopers at the end. Thanks.
Article 83, malingering, anyone who feigns illness or intentionally harms himself to avoid work. Article 85, desertion, anyone who remains absent from their place of work with the intent to remain away permanently. Article 86, absence without leave, also known as AWOL, when a member fails to go, goes from that place, or absences themselves from their appointment place of duty. Article 87 alpha, resistance, flight, breach of arrest and escape, any person who resists or flees apprehension, breaks arrest, or escapes from custody. Article 88, contempt toward officials, any commissioned officer who uses contemptuous words against the President, Vice President, Congress, or other designated officials. Article 89, disrespecting or assaulting a superior commissioned officer, any person who behaves with disrespect toward or strikes their superior commissioned officer. Article 91, any warrant officer or enlisted member who assaults, willfully disobeys a lawful order, or is disrespectful towards a warrant officer, NCO, or petty officer.
Article 95, offenses by a sentinel or lookout, Any sentinel who is drunk on post, sleeps on post, leaves post without proper authorization, or who wrongfully loiters on post. Article 97, unlawful detention. Article 99, misbehavior before the enemy. Article 100, subordinate compelling surrender. Any person who compels or attempts to compel the commander to give up to an enemy or to abandon it, or who strikes the colors of the flag of the enemy without proper authority. Article 102, forcing a safeguard. Applicable to anyone who forces a safeguard. A safeguard is a protection of enemy possessions or persons conducted by our own forces. Article 103, spies. Any person who is found lurking as a spy or acting as a spy in or about any place. Article 104A, fraudulent enlistment. Any person who, knowingly false representation or deliberate concealment as to his qualifications for the enlistment.
Article 104B, unlawful enlistment, appointment, or separation. Article 105, forgery. Any person who with an intent to defraud falsely makes or alters any signature or document. Article 106, impersonation of officer, non-commissioned officer, or agent or official. Article 107, false official statements, false swearing. Article 110, improperly hazarding a vessel or aircraft. Article 112, any person who is drunk, incapacitated on duty due to drugs and alcohol. Article 112A, any person who uses, makes, distributes a controlled substance.
Article 114, endangerment offenses. Any person who engages in conduct that is wrongful and reckless and is likely to produce death or grievous bodily harm. Article 118, murder. Premeditated killing of a human being. Article 119, manslaughter. The killing of a human being in the heat of the moment. Article 121, larceny and wrongful appropriation. Stealing or borrowing without permission. And then Article 121A, fraudulent use of credit cards, debit cards, and other access devices. Article 121B, false pretenses to obtain services. Any person who with intent to defraud knowingly uses false pretenses to obtain services. Article 124A, bribery. Any person who uses their official position to wrongfully ask for, accept, or receive anything of value in exchange for official actions. Or any person who wrongfully promises, offers, or gives a thing of value to a person in an official position in exchange for influencing their official actions.
124B, graft. Any person in an official position who wrongfully asks for, accepts, or receives compensation for performance of their official duties, or any person who wrongfully promises, offers, or gives compensation to a person for performance of their official duties. Article 126, arson. Starting a fire to someone's property or structure, knowing they are inside, or setting a fire with the intent to defraud. Article 128, assault. Attempting, offering, or doing bodily harm to someone. Article 128A, maiming. Any person who intentionally and seriously disfigures another person or destroys or disables any organ of another person. Article 128B, domestic violence. Abusing or intimidating your spouse, intimate partner, or immediate family member. Article 129, burglary. Breaking and entering with the intent to commit a crime. Article 130, stalking, is when a person commits a repeated behavior that places another person in fear.
Article 131, perjury, lying under oath. Article 131A, subordination of perjury, persuading a person to lie under oath. Article 131B, obstructing justice, someone who corruptly attempts to obstruct the proper administration of the law. Article 131C, misprision of a serious offense, the accused having knowledge of a crime and not revealing it to the proper authorities. Article 131D, wrongful refusal to testify, a service member who refuses to testify in the presence of an official of the court. Article 131E, prevention of authorized seizure of property, someone who disposes of property to prevent the seizure. Article 131F, noncompliance with procedural rules, a person who causes unnecessary delays in a case. Article 131G, wrongful interference with adverse administrative proceedings, a person who interferes with an administrative proceeding.
And now on to Major Hines for Article 120.
The UCMJ has gone through several major evolutions in the past few decades, and nowhere is this more evident than in its treatment of sexual misconduct. From expanding the definitions of sexual assault and rape to eliminating prohibitions on sodomy, the UCMJ has adapted as society's understanding of sexual misconduct improves. Articles 117A and 120 through 120C each prohibit some form of sexual misconduct. Additionally, some Article 134 offenses, such as child pornography, address sexual misconduct. The act committed against a victim, or the egregiousness of an offense, may change whether it's called rape or sexual assault or abusive sexual conduct, but ultimately, each of these offenses boils down to one thing: consent, or rather, a lack of the victim's consent. Consent is a mutual agreement to a course of action by all parties involved. An unconscious person is unable to give consent. A child under the age of 16 is not able to give consent to sexual conduct. Consent is not established by a history of sexual conduct, or a reputation for sexual promiscuity, or by a person's clothing. A dating relationship, or even marriage, does not equal consent. Consent cannot be coerced. If a person feels that they or another person are at risk of injury or death, they are not able to give consent. If a person has been drugged or is too intoxicated to make a sound decision, then they are not able to give consent. Consent can be revoked at any time.
That's it for our coverage. If you'd like to know more about any of the subjects covered today, there'll be an attorney or a paralegal from
the legal office
to answer any questions that you may have.
Please have your appointment letter ready for signature. Thanks, and have a great Air Force Day.
All right, 3, 2, 1, and rolling.
Nope. Under certain circumstances. That word.
Certain circumstances.
I'm pausing and I'm starting over. May or starting over is not. I'm starting over. Unique to the military. Starting over. Start over. TMO fraud. Sentence is starting over. Dang it. That. There.
Bang. Time punishment is imposed. Punishment. Dang it, I was so close.
Subchapter. Oh my gosh. Next major portion of the where 80 punitive. That's a word. Where 80 punitive are punable. Where the punable. Remainder of the punable. What I'm really trying to say like the entire time. The remainder of the punable. There are over 80 punable. Dang it. It's your turn, sir.
80 punitive articles detailing more than 100. There are over 80 criminal acts.
Dang, I really messed that up. I had to itch that entire time. That's terrible. Crimes that are discharges? Sir.
What is burglary?
Sir, burglary.
This is better.
Yeah. burglary.
Are your hands okay? Right here.
How should I be?
And, sorry, I'm like getting tripped up. Oh, this is terrible.
And requires that there be a reasonable. That's not true. That is wrong. Factually incorrect. Criminal conviction.
It's good for us.
Everyone good? We're good? Take a break. That's right. And NJP definitely scratching my ass.
I didn't see it, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, there you go.
Join up late to work if you're a civilian.
Sorry, wow, I didn't realize that was going to be part of this one. This is why I just lose my voice. Cool. We're going to sort of struggle to keep pace and use that word.
What is maiming?
I'm only thinking of a lion.
See you next time. I definitely look down.
A wanton disregard of human life.